Hey everyone, this is my second episode of ChiTheatreTalks. Today we'll be highlighting Marriott Theater's Theater for Young Audiences, Shrek the Musical, as well as talking about how to afford this industry. Keep watching. This is Hunter with Shy Theater Teach. Thanks so much for joining us again for another episode of Shy Theater Talks. This is theater artist Ben Locke. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi everyone, no problem.
Today we went and saw the Theater for Young Audiences version of Shrek at Marriott. We had a lot of fun. What was great is it was only an hour.
Yes.
We'll get to that in a second though. I'd like to go ahead and talk about you just for a second.
Sure.
Can you tell us a few things, where you went to school, where you grew up, what brought you to Chicago, and then like what you're currently working on?
All right, well, I went to Millikan University in Decatur, Illinois. I got a double major in theater and human services. Originally, I was going to, because I'm from Chicago, I'm going to come, after I graduate, come here, save up money, and move out to Minneapolis.
Okay, which is also like a really good city.
Huge like, theater hub, also good for human services, like had the best of both worlds. But I was like, while I'm here, I would like to audition. So I like auditioning, and I've kind of been working ever since. So I have stayed here.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So the plan wasn't to come, but then you came and started working, and that makes sense. Actually, like I know a lot of people who, and like that's sort of their story. They ended up, they've considered moving to New York, Minneapolis, etc. And they work so much in Chicago that they don't want to leave.
Yeah.
So
because they said that like Chicago's super intimidating. So I was like, well, Minneapolis seems like a safer environment to like really build up my resume, do this, do that.
For sure.
Because I didn't really plan on booking, when I came to Chicago, but I have been. It's been great, and I'm currently doing a chorus line over at Metropolis Performing Arts in Arlington Heights, and I just started rehearsal this week for a new show called Plainclothes at Broken Nose Theater. So I'm like,
I've never seen anything by them.
Yeah, they do a lot of like original work and a lot of new up and coming. So this is like a new show. It's never been done before. It's going pretty well. Like it's a really good show. It's really funny. I'm just kind of like doing a little cameo. I come in the beginning, come in at the end. So
that's awesome.
Kind of on the princess track.
Yes,
right now,
princess track. That's always the dream. Chorus line.
Yes.
When do you guys close?
We close November 3rd.
Oh, perfect. So, go see him.
Yes.
I'm hearing good things about it.
Yeah, it is a lot of work. It is a lot of fun. It's just so much energy. So, luckily, I just feel so happy to have, a cast I really, really love, really enjoy.
And what a fun story to tell.
Yeah, so we're all very close. I'm playing Mark Anthony, and I'm understudying Richie, and I will be going on for Richie a few times towards the end of the run.
Awesome.
So look out for that.
I don't really know much about you.
Right.
What brought you to decide to pursue theater in general?
I've always liked it. I come from a sports family. So they
Interesting.
Put me in a lot of sports when I was growing up. They put me in basketball. I tried golf. I tried volleyball, bowling, swimming, and
that is a lot.
Of it. Yeah, baseball, and just none of it really stuck. And I've always liked dancing. I've always liked musicals. I went to a very small grade school, so you had to be in band, you had to be in choir, you had to do. So that's kind of how I got introduced to theater.
Awesome.
And then stuck it out.
See, my experience is the opposite. I come from a family of artists.
No.
None of us are sports players. I'd say we're athletic, but none of us pursued sports. My mom and dad were both singers, musicians, performers. They were both on the board of the community theater where I grew up and stuff. So I love hearing that people still come out of those situations and pursue the arts. The opposite happens too. Do you think, are you supported by your family?
Yeah, I would say a lot more recently. When I was doing it in high school, they were like, yeah, this is nice, this is great, but eventually, and that's kind of, I guess,
is this a valid career?
Yeah, it's sort of while I double majored, because I also do human services. I like the aspect of really trying to better people's situations and services and all that stuff. Trying to find a way and understanding and realizing once I went to college and everything, I kind of learned theater does do that. Theater does foster conversation and foster opportunities, and just fosters a lot of things that is also human service related.
And there's a way to make a career by like marrying those two things.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Why don't we just like jump into talking about Shrek? Because I really enjoyed myself.
Me too.
I mean, there's something to be said about seeing a show at a place like Marriott where there's just like everyone in the room is a professional. They've got like state-of-the-art equipment, et cetera, et cetera. But what's really cool about the production, like I said earlier, it's a theater for young audiences version of Shrek. So it's a little over an hour. What's cool about it is it condenses the story down to sort of the essentials. And that made it just, I don't know, I think that the story was a lot cleaner. I still enjoyed myself. Maybe not as much as I would have if it was the full production, but I definitely had a lot of fun. It was fun to have the energy of all these like little kids in the room.
Yeah.
What's interesting though is because I'm sort of like overexposed to this show this year because I worked on the junior version with the Miracle Center. I went and saw it at Windy City Performs. And now I've seen it again, and I've seen all three versions now. And what's interesting is like the junior and YTA are almost identical, but like not quite. They just like chose different things to cut, which is interesting. I wonder why they wouldn't just make it the same version and market it as, I don't know, maybe that's why. Maybe it's so they can market it as different things. That must be why. But I think it's interesting because like the YTA version, like I said, it was a lot cleaner. And this is one of the things I think that they did so well, is it was just like clean. It was smooth. And you said on the way back, the transitions were like
it's
unbelievable.
Weird. It's weird when you go, because I've never been in the Marriott Theater, and so walking in, I was like, oh, it's theater in the round.
Yeah.
So it's very, very little set.
And like imagine Shrek in the round. Like
so many different locations, cool. But like the way they were just always coming in and out to like change things up and move things around. And it wasn't like, all right, now we're going to vamp music for 20 seconds while we set this up.
Exactly.
It was very
just seamless.
Leading
constant
your eye
movement
to what you need to lead your eye to. And I was like, good, great.
Yeah, and what they did really well was the transitions were happening
simultaneously
as the scenes were going. Things like that's so crucial for a musical comedy. Like the pace was perfect.
Yes.
And honestly, like I am in awe of those actors. I know a handful of people in the show: Ron, Jacqueline, Garrett, Sarah, Landry. What I'm in awe of though is like most of those people are also in other shows right now.
Yes. Yeah,
and I think that, and even though it's only an hour-long show, it's still like
very energetic,
very demanding, very energetic, very exhausting, I'm sure. And then they like go off and do another show. Like for instance, I know Jacqueline, she's doing Fiona and then Vivian in Legally Blonde. Like I think that is insane because those two roles are some of the most vocally demanding roles in musical theater, I think.
I definitely have to shout out Kirsten,
who played the dragon in Mama Bear, right?
Yes, and
she was amazing.
That was the first time I met her in person. Like very huge fan of her. Crystal clear voice, like so flawless,
unbelievable
so
control
at 10 a.m. and I'm like,
like
this is unreal. Also have to shout out sound because that is something that is huge for me. Is like being able to hear and like hearing static or like the voices not being as like clear because they have mics.
So balanced.
It was so balanced.
It helps that they have like these crazy expensive mics and the equipment.
But
and
I think
all,
a lot of times with shows we like focus so much on like the things that we see and not like the backstage crew and like stuff. And I
think that they ran really smoothly.
Sound was amazing. I've been to so many shows. I've been in shows where the sound was not amazing, and it really like brought down the show.
My work in educational theater. Obviously, we don't have the money to like have these crazy brand new things like mics and sound systems. All of those things. Sound is always the thing that I'm like, if only like if that was just where I want it to be.
Sometimes it will literally make or break a show.
Yeah, to see a show where that does well is really cool. I think that YTA shows are this form of theater that like we don't really talk about very often. And people don't really study it very often. It's something that I don't think is highlighted in the limelight, right? And I think that it is this really unique, specific form of theater that not everyone can do. And I don't know, I think they did it really well.
Yeah. And one that's the thing too is I was talking earlier about how like human services and theater can definitely merit itself. I remember when they had the talk back, one of the kids was asking if Shrek and Fiona kissed like in real life. And one of the actors was like, well, we had to talk about that. We got to talk about
we got permission.
Yeah, like and I was just like, that is so teaching them so early. Like, you need to ask permission. You need to be
you
like
need to
sensitive.
Get consent,
you need to like
even in a professional setting.
I was just oh my gosh, this is how you marry them, to like do these shows and then ask these they ask these questions because they're seeing the content, and then to be like, hey, now because you're seeing the content and you're asking these questions, we can talk about these things now that you will carry on with you in real life and be a better person and like ask for consent and do. And I'm like, wow, this is amazing. I love this. Yes.
Yeah, that was a really special moment. The talkback was so cute. Check out Shrek at the Marriott, especially if you have kids. It is a lot of fun. Those kids had a blast. They're running through December 30th. As impressive as it is for these actors to be doing like these 2 shows for a few weeks, I know that like Steven is in both Shrek and Little Shop at Drury. Garrett is in both Shrek and Ghost. Jacqueline and Sarah are both in Legally Blonde as well. Like, as impressive as that is, it's crazy to me that people have to do that. You know, because like none of them are really truly making a living off their one show. So whether it be a survival job, whether it be a second show, like pretty much everyone has something. I think one of the main reasons is because it's just damn expensive to be in this industry.
Yeah.
I think about it a lot because I went freelance in January of this year. I set out to start making a living as a full-time artist, and like I'm doing that. But I think about it, like I make more money now than I did when I did have a day job. I'm also like seeing more shows because I kind of have to like, you know, really keep myself engaged. I'm taking more classes. I'm doing these things that cost a lot of money, quite frankly. It's kind of a necessity. Obviously there's a certain luxury to that, but I also think that to a certain extent, like you have to be doing those things in order to keep your network strong, to keep your craft sharp, and like all these things. I think it's insane how expensive it is to be a theater artist.
Yeah, that's something to think about all the
when
time.
you do like a 3-month gig and you get paid $150 for it.
Yeah, I could talk about that for days because there's so many people that will be like, well, I mean, all you need to do is you need to take dance classes, you need to take like, acting classes, and you need to take voice lessons. And I'm like, yeah, these are things obviously I know if I want to keep up with my craft. Of course I need to keep up with my dance. Of course I need to keep up with my voice. But dance classes can range from like $15 to like $25, and if you're doing and if you're doing like
3 a week,
like even if you're just doing 1 a week, like that's about $100 a month. If you're doing voice lessons once a week, or even like every other week,
voice lessons are like $50 an hour, $250 an hour. Like
especially in Chicago, I know some that are like $120 for like a half hour.
Yeah, it's insane.
And so, and then onto like, if you're gonna do like a master class for voiceover acting or anything like that, like it's it's almost like a second mortgage too, or like a second month of rent. And it's one of those things that I'm just like, it's hard. It is very hard because yes, you want to invest in yourself and invest in your craft. And yes, I understand that a lot of theaters like don't have the money to pay me the big bucks. Yeah. But it's so frustrating because you can't get to the level that you need to be as an artist.
And what's hard is like there's certain people, right, who started really early. They had a really good combination of circumstances where like they started dance classes at 5 years old and they've been taking voice lessons since they were kids, and like they had all the right opportunities to sort of get into their career and not necessarily need all of those things. And then there's also these people who are like fully supported by their parents. And here's the thing, like I don't want to like put it out there that that's in some way bad. It's just like that is a really hard element of being a theater artist when there's these people who had not necessarily had it easy, but were given the circumstances and the opportunities that like the majority of us just don't have.
Oh yeah, and even just the added, because that's the thing too, is a lot of people like in college that some of the most stressful things aren't actually going to college, but like paying for college or like worrying about having to pay for books or worrying about it. So
for instance, I paid myself through college. I did not receive financial assistance from family, and the way I accomplished that was I worked from the age of like 12 to start saving for that. I also worked 3 jobs when I was in school. I didn't have time to really devote to my studies and to devote to dance classes and voice lessons and all these things. And so I didn't really get to focus on my training while I was being trained, like because I had to worry about paying for it all. Because even with things like loans and financial aid and all that stuff, like there's still a huge out-of-pocket cost at the time, let alone all of the loan payments afterwards.
Yeah, and I hear people all the time, they're like, oh, she's so good, she learns quickly, she does this, or like, oh, he's always booked, always this. I'm like, well, when you're not working, I was like,
but you don't know the back story.
Yeah, I was like, when you're not working a job, you can go to any and every audition. When your parents are paying for a lot of things, you can take all the dance classes. You don't have to stress, you don't have to worry. Or like, even if you're not having a job, you can come home, work on all the things.
Yes,
or like
that, but also like in order to really open up yourself to like emotional vulnerability, connecting to a character, being creative while like writing or directing or like any of these things as a theater artist, in order to like really truly produce your best work, you need to be physically healthy, mentally healthy, spiritually healthy. You can't be stressed. And when people have a full-time survival job and they have to worry about like paying rent, am I going to eat next month? Yeah. That makes auditions suffer. Yeah. That makes performances suffer. People, I think that people like really don't take into account these things. That there is a certain like huge privilege when it comes to financial freedom as an artist.
Oh yeah.
So I think that like the takeaway from that is like there honestly are so many resources out there that don't cost money. For instance, like there's some really amazing vocal teachers, coaches, etc. who put out like YouTube videos and stuff. They honestly have the caliber that you would get in a professional voice lesson. Sometimes you can get that from certain videos, and obviously that's no substitution. Yeah. But you know, there are certain things you can do like in the meantime until you get to the point where you can start investing in those things.
And I think that I am looking for more artists, or I'm trying to look up to or get guidance from like those type of people. Like, I don't have the money to do this, so I did this instead. Or like,
I think people need to start talking about that
because
and being open about like how they made it happen. Because you know there are so many people that you look up to that are super successful, but it's like that just seems like unattainable.
And like
in my current situation.
Like I hear so many success stories like, well, I was in the studio all day, every day. I had voice lesson room, and I'm like, I can't. Who are the people that were like
made it happen?
Like, watched YouTube, or like I was in my like cramped 4x4 apartment, because a lot of people are like, oh, you just, especially like when you're in shows, like you got to be practicing the choreography. And I'm like, I can't physically do this full out.
Again, I don't think this is a bad thing.
Honestly, like I would be straight up honest. I'm just jealous.
Yeah,
honestly, I'm just straight up jealous. I would love to like not, especially when it comes to like being in shows where you have to take off work. Yeah. And a lot of theaters are not very lenient, or they don't understand, or they'll get really mad, and you're like, I gotta make a check. Like I gotta.
And here's the thing, like you said, I'm jealous. Like that would be freaking awesome. I feel like I'm now at the point where like if I had that financial freedom, like that's where I am in my career. But if I had started that at 22, who knows where I'd be right now. I have friends who, you know, their parents did buy them a condo. They did pay for their entire schooling, and that's awesome. But like, there's also certain people who like flaunt that and brag about it and think that like they're special in some way, and it's like, no, you just like are privileged. There is a certain grace that's so necessary if you have that privilege, because like honestly, like you just rub so many people the wrong way if you don't use grace in that situation. If you feel like you made it happen in a non-conventional way, you're currently making a living as an artist, let us know in the comment section. We'd love to find out. Start a conversation. I think that more people need to know how to conquer this industry without having to fork up thousands of dollars a year on it. Because honestly, like most of us just don't have that because of $30,000 in student debt, you know? Thank you so much for joining us here today again for another episode of Shy Theater Talks. Thank you, Ben, for joining us. Hopefully you guys have some ideas on how to help everyone out making it to our goals. So have a wonderful week. See you next time.